I don't think I really need to introduce you. We all are familiar with what you do. You are an amazing leader, a visionary, and the co-founder of what we're doing with this listening movement. So without ado, Bob, come up and wow us.
I reminded this is all Cynthia's idea. I think I normally start off by kind of explaining the why we do it, but the stories that you all told, the richness and the passion you told it with, I don't need to explain to you why. Because what you experienced today is what Cynthia experienced about 10 years ago from our team members, and she said we have to take this to the larger community. We've been given an amazing gift. So let me just kind of put it in a different context. The political, I had the privilege of talking, speaking at Harvard right before the election. Okay, we have a political system that believes that if we create jobs in this country, which equates to money, that people will be happy. Okay. But we have the lowest unemployment in 17 years. We have the lowest jobless claims in 40-some years. We're at peace in the world, and people don't feel good. Okay? Why? Because 88% of all people in this country feel they work for an organization that does not care about them. So how can the people that are treated that way for 40 hours a week go home to their families and be good stewards of the people in their care? So I would say to you that I believe, as Bill Urey does. Bill Urey is a world peace negotiator. He has been very involved in our journey, and he started Harvard School of Negotiation. He has, again, negotiated world peace for 30 years. And Bill Urey said, after having spent 2 days with us, he believes that what you experienced today is the answer to world peace. Now that seems like an extreme, doesn't it? But think of it this way. Bill Urey said, I've been going to global peace talks for 30 years. I now realize that's exactly what they are. They're global peace talks. People talking at each other, but not having the capacity to listen with empathy so we can work together in the world and value people. So I want you to walk away today knowing that you're part of a world peace movement. So I'd say to you from Cynthia and my perspective, we had no option but to do this because we feel we're given an amazing gift that could heal the world. So you can't say no to a calling. So to see the stories and the impact this has made, you can see why we are so incredibly moved to do this, because this could heal the world. And so I tell people, when our granddaughter graduated from Aspen High School a year ago, and I was in this Aspen Music Festival tent, and all the parents and grandparents were cheering as people got their diplomas, these 158 precious kids. And I had tears in my eyes, because I knew the world we were sending these kids into, where they had a very low chance of being a part of an organization that cared about them. So this is not, this is about world peace. It is about dignity and respect for those precious kids each of you have brought into this world, your parents, your friends, your communities. This is about world healing. I have never, in all of my talks around the country in healthcare and education and business and government, do you understand? I mean, Cynthia will say people cry in the audience when I give a speech because they are so hurting by the way they're treated. So we have jobs, we're at peace, but we're not peace in our heart, okay? So this message that Julie and Kat and others have embraced is a message of healing, a message of learning how to care. I thought when you cared for somebody, you went over and talked to them. It turns out when you care for somebody, you go over to listen to them, okay? So we are giving you, we have been blessed with this message, which was developed because we wanted to turn managers into leaders, okay? And one of our team members said, if we're going to create leaders, we need to create people who know how to listen. I thought that was weird. Okay? Why would we need to teach adults to listen? Okay, and then I heard stories like you heard tonight. Cynthia heard, and we said, we've been given an amazing gift. I don't know why somebody picked us, I don't. But they did, and so we have no choice. And my greatest hope in the time I have left is that we create an organization that reaches around the world and brings this healing to every community in the country, so we can all feel that in the time we have on this earth, we feel valued, and that we value those whose life we touch. Does that make sense to everybody? Amen. So thank you all for the gift of your passion. All you've done is recharge the batteries that Cynthia and I were charged when we began listening to people. Remember, the first person I ever met randomly in our company who took this course, a young lady in her 30s, said to me, "Mr. Chapman, I took that communication skills course you had." And I said, "Great." I said, "What was it like?" I had no idea. And she said, "It changed my life." And I said, "I don't understand. We taught a class in communication at work, and it changed your life? Help me understand." She said, "I now know how to talk to raise my 2-year-old child." What more powerful message could she have said than, "I now know how to raise my child"? What does the future of this country look like if we don't know how to raise our children? Where are our kids going to learn to listen and care if we don't teach them? Because we can't get it from our adults, because we didn't get it in our education. So this movement, we hope it is a movement, we hope will profoundly affect the world that you get to experience in the time you have left, and those in your span of care get to experience. So at work, at home, because we can't teach, remember, what I've just shared with you has been validated at the highest level of thinking in the world. I get the privilege of speaking with people at McKinsey, the world's leading consulting firm. There are 2 top partners out of Amsterdam flew into our company 3 weeks ago, spent 2 days listening to our people, and they said it gives them hope for humanity. Okay? World peace, hope for humanity, those are good words for you all to take. Okay? So anyway, thank you for the gift of your time tonight. Thank you, professors and team members and our national team, for joining this movement. It is with great joy that Cynthia and I share our blessings to support this. Thank you.
I told you he was going to wow us. So he will take some Q&A if anybody wants to ask some questions or open up the floor. Okay, Frank.
I tell the story of Barry Waymuller, but I sort of take some creative license with it. But can you just retell when you guys went, I think it was 01, when you went from how do I care for my family at home to what about those people at work? Isn't that what you shared at LifeWorks about 4 years ago? And
well, the way I position it, because it was an evolution over time. It was a series of revelations that occurred. But remember, in the 1970s, I inherited a very broken company that I tried to fix. And Cynthia and I had 6 kids between us that we were trying to be good stewards of. So what I learned, so I went out to try and be a good parent and learn what that was like, as I tried to take what I learned in business school to fix our business. What I learned in the 80s and 90s is everything I learned about parenting was about leadership. Everything I learned in business school was about manipulation. Okay? I define management as the manipulation of others for your success. And so what happened around the late 90s is I realized that parenting and leadership is identical. What is parenting? The stewardship of those precious lives through birth, adoption, or second marriage that we take very seriously. What is leadership? The stewardship of those precious lives of the people that walk into our buildings who are somebody's precious child. That we know we will make a profound impact on their life. Remember, the Mayo Clinic told us recently that your leader at work is more important to your health than your family doctor. Okay, does that make sense? Okay. Because the way you are treated at work profoundly affects your level of stress, which profoundly affects your health. And there's just you can just buy it. A book just came out called "Dying for a Paycheck" by Jeffrey Pfeiffer. And Jeffrey Pfeiffer he quotes us as his first quote. Because I get in front of CEOs in the world and I say, "You're complaining about the healthcare crisis? You are the problem. you are creating the healthcare crisis because of the way we're treating people. Does that make sense? So it's really been an evolutionary journey for us, where I went from traditional leadership to caring. Does that make sense? Other questions?
I have a comment. I just wanted to say that short little 3-minute video, the 3 days to change, is just amazing. And I think that's the best way to get the word out. And I think people can feel the way it feels to be a part of this with that video. So thank you for putting that together.
You know, I someday hope somehow we can capture the stories you heard tonight. I've heard hundreds of those stories of healing. One of the most powerful ones I heard was I was sitting with Simon Sinek, who's the number 3 TED Talk in the world, and Bill Urey, the World Peace Negotiator, our jet, and Kim Harrison, Simon's assistant, was sitting between them. We're having a conversation flying from Boulder to Green Bay. And I said to Kim, Kim, did you take that communication skills class? She said, yes, I did. I said, what was it like? It was just, the 4 of us sitting on a plane. And she said, well, I have to explain something. It goes back to what somebody said. My mother and father got divorced, and my mother's incredibly close, and I called her every day. She said, but since I took the course, I realized that I called my mom and talked to her every day, but I didn't listen to her. So she said, and then she begins sobbing. She said, I realized that I needed to listen to my mother. When I began listening to my mother profoundly changed. And she said, I thought I was being a loving daughter, and I was hurting the person I loved the most because I was talking to her, not listening to her. And then Bill Urey goes off and says, can you imagine now, again, this is an amazing human being. He said, can you imagine a world where people are known for listening skills? When somebody's introduced, can you imagine instead of talk shows, listening shows? Okay? And he said, can you imagine if we could begin in elementary school, start teaching basic exercises that grow over time, so when our children graduate from our education system, they are equipped to have meaningful relationships? Can you imagine that? So Bill Urey just started dreaming of the world he imagined. So thank you. That I hope, but I can do a lot aren't in video, but when you see it like you saw it tonight, is there anything more touching than the stories you just heard? And I've heard thousands of those stories now, thousands of those stories around the world. We teach this all over the world. We teach in France and French, and it's exactly the same impact in every country of the world. We teach people to debate, we teach people to give speeches, but we don't teach people the most basic human skill for human relationship, which is to listen with empathy to those in our span of care. Does that make sense? Any other questions? Yes.
Kind of off of what you were just saying about little children, I know you've talked at Harvard to the education. Has there been any updates? Like, where do you think this is headed as far as being able to put into curriculum, particularly in elementary schools, some of the basics of this?
We have an individual who specializes in education. I just had a dinner probably a month ago with about 8 educational institutions. They're all fascinated with what we are doing. But changing education is like turning the Titanic around. Okay? I will tell you, they say it is going to be extremely difficult to change education. So we are working, but we have Charlotte Latin in Charlotte that is talking to us. We have the University of Michigan that just embraced it for their staff, not their students yet, okay? And we talked today at Indiana University, and 5 other, I think we have 8 institutions that are in dialogue with us, okay? So I would say to you, I feel we are treating cancer, but we're not curing cancer. The cure for cancer is let's not break people so we have to fix it, okay? Does that make sense? So that's our goal. Our goal is education, my #1 target. And I'm dealing with Bob Keegan, who is professor emeritus of graduate school of education at Harvard, is passionate about what we're doing. Now, his ability to change Harvard, but Harvard just told me, they just told me up at Harvard when I was teaching the other day, that the school, business school, is considering making the Barry Windmiller case study a case study for all business students. So, and so I would say to you, we are making unbelievable progress. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Wasn't a
specific person or a team of people that developed this original course? How did that come about?
A guy named David Vandermolen, who was part of our what we call our OE team, Operational Excellence team. He had this experience from another company where he had somebody. He was in a church and he did youth ministry, and he also took some courses. And he's the one who kind of said, we need to teach this. If David were here and he heard, he would be sobbing here because he can't believe he sat down in a Starbucks in Grand Rapids and came up with this 3-day course, and it's going to change the world. He is profoundly touched because he can't believe that he has done this, because he said there's no comparison to his faith work in terms of changing lives, in terms of what we're intended to live together. I believe we are born as caring individuals, and I think the world eventually tamps that down. So we learn to protect ourselves. Bill, I want to leave you with a statement that Bill Urey said, which I love. And again, Bill Urey, you can look him up. He's an amazing human being. He said, we need to move from a me-centric world to a we-centric world. The way I was educated, success was defined as money, power, and position. It was not defined by the way we touch the lives of other people. So until we change the definition of success, the way we celebrate people, and we have an expression as you drive out of our building now that Simon Sinek and I developed together. We imagine a society where people think of others first. Okay? It's hard to think of others when you feel hurt yourself. But we know for a fact that when we send people home feeling valued, they go home and treat their family as they've been treated. Okay? None of our leaders in our organization ever occurred to them that the way that they treat the people in their span of care will affect their health and the way they go home and treat their family. There's no book, there's nobody ever says that, but there is no question. When we teach people to be leaders, because it came from Cynthia and I trying to be good parents, 90+% of the feedback where we teach people to be leaders is how it affects their marriage and their children. Okay? So you guys sense we're on a mission?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see why we can't stop now? Okay? Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
How do we find the communities in other countries? Like if we have friends in other countries, how do we get them to find this?
Well, I just got a map yesterday from our university, because we teach leadership all over the world. And so we have CST professors all over the world. And so we can give you where they are, and they can inquire of the classes. But, we're in France and Italy and Germany and Spain and England.
Diane? Would Diane have it?
No, we have it. We just got it from Paul. So I think you can just email me and we can send you a map. But again, when you get the chance to travel around the world and see the way people impact, this is a message that could genuinely heal the world. There's nothing any political leader could do in this country more than we can do in this room. Okay? We can heal this world without any laws being passed, any increase in taxes, any tariff wars. We don't need any of that to heal the world. We just need to embrace the way we impact other people's lives. And we need to learn to, because one of the things we find is that when we send people home feeling valued, they turn around and they naturally care for others. When people feel cared for, they naturally care for other people. We find that. And so I would say to you, the good news is that the awareness of what we're doing at Barry Windmill is growing around the world. We have people flying in from around the world. And right now, the very class you take is one of the classes we're teaching at American Airlines. The chairman of American Airlines read my book. He thinks it profoundly will change the future of American Airlines. And our team is fully engaged in helping American Airlines learn to care. And the feedback stories have been amazing. Gallo Wine, San Francisco 49ers, Shell Oil Company, Myers Food Stores. So it is the trajectory of our message, and within McKinsey and Harvard. So I'd say to you, there's no debate in what I told you today. The only question is, it's so far from what we're taught and what we know to where we should be. It's a journey. I was giving a speech in Los Angeles to 150 presidents of companies, and at the end of it I said, does anybody disagree with me? Anybody in the audience disagree with me? Not a single hand went up. I said, how many of you agree? 150 hands went up like this, okay? So I said, ask me a question. So a guy in the back of the room, looked like he's in early 40s, stood up and said, Mr. Chapman, I raised my hand, I agree with everything you said. God damn, I think it would be hard to do that. because you don't know what people are going to ask. I had no idea what I was going to say. So I said to him, "Are you married?" I have no idea why I asked him. I said, "Are you married?" He said, "Yes, I'm married." I said, "I'm curious, do you find being married easy?" And so, knowing he was with 150 people, he knew. He kind of put his head down and thought about what he was going to say. And he said, "No, God damn it, it's hard."
Everything's hard.
And so I said, "Name any human relationship that's easy. Is it easy to be married and live up to the vows you stood in front of everybody and committed in good and bad times? No. Is it easy to raise kids? No. Is it easy to care for 12,000 people? No. But what is the alternative?" People ask me, "How do you justify doing this?" And I said, "How do you justify not?" Thank you, everybody. I know we're